Hi everyone, Samuel here once again, and I'm going to be continuing my AWS course. This is helping individuals in cloud engineering, those that are maybe decision makers, chief technology officers, learning to get more familiar with AWS and why they should transition over to the cloud. Or perhaps you're a chief financial officer in a tech company and you need to look at the value to proposition. That being said, or even maybe perhaps you're just somebody that's looking to get your cloud AWS cloud practitioner certification for your company. So let's go into, we're still in our core cloud concepts, and this is lesson 2.1, the cloud definition, right? We're going into the value proposition. So before defining AWS cloud, let's zoom out and remember that the idea of public cloud computing came first, and AWS grew from that foundation. So, according to AWS, cloud computing is on demand delivery of IT resources via the internet with flexible pay as you go pricing. Now, they have a comprehensive paragraph, and there's two documents that you're really going to want, right? Get the PDF, the AWS white paper. It's 162 pages. And there's on page 12, it has a perfect paragraph about what their definition is. And it's not on there. I didn't find it, I believe, but it mentions it. Is you have the AWS well architected frameworks, which is like 968-page PDF. Critical resources. Anyways, let's take a look at the SCQA for the industry. What is the situation that companies are having? What are the complications that they're having? What are the questions that they ask? And what are the answers? So, situations is companies, they need flexible IT resources, right? And the complications that they're having, some of the problems that we're having is the on premises legacy infrastructure we had before, it requires big upfront costs, right? And slow delivery. And I don't want to get into all of it, but this is going to be your uh, a huge factor, right? And we're gonna go over the keywords for this later, right? Your TCO, your total cost. So how does AWS solve this, right? And they decided to come out with giving you options, on demand and pay as you go solutions. So we have two different views, two different groups of people that this benefits. For our technical teams, right? The AWS cloud resources, they are provisioned automatically and scaled as needed. This is going to help them with a lot of issues, right? And from our business management, our CTO level, our financial officers, this is going to shift. It shifts your IT from heavy upfront spending to flexible usage based costs. So what does that mean? You only pay what you use instead of buying everything upfront. Okay, this is a really great for upcoming companies, right? So let's take a look at the NIST, right? And they are for the United States. They handle IT for the United States, and I think believe for European Union, it's the NIS2. Can't fully remember, but the NIST adds to the definition that cloud computing is on demand network access to a shared pool of configurable resources, which can be quickly provisioned and released with minimal management. So that's their take on it to add in. And this is going to be keywords on demand network access, right? So let's move forward. All right, guys. From both definitions, we're getting three consistent traits, right? Resources are provisioned on demand. Billing is consumption based, and access happens over the network. So let's look once again at our SEQA, our situation, complications, questions, answers. Businesses, they must keep up with demanding changes. Situations are constantly changing. And the complications that they're having is traditional IT lacks elasticity, right? The ability to grow and shrink, right? And question is, what traits solve this? What can be done to solve this? And AWS decided with their model, they're going to go on demand. They have pay as you go, and then of course network access, right? So how does this help both of our two different groups, our technical group and our business? With our technical teams, the elasticity to grow and shrink and the automations, it reduces your downtime and the manual work. For our business teams, right, CTOs, finance guys, the costs, they scale with usage, and it's gonna also be reducing your financial risk. So you have, financial obligations to your investors, various stakeholders, and this is gonna help you with that, and you could present this to them as, "This is why we made the transition," right? And there's a joke from that, but we're not gonna go in. Alright, so AWS goes further, offering more than 200 fully featured services across areas such as your compute, your storage, your networking, your analytics, your machine learning, and security. With so many services available, no single person can realistically master everything that AWS provides, right? This is something it's so hard for you CTOs and you chief executive officers need to understand when it comes to staffing and communicate this to these talent acquisition, these human capital management and HR employees that you have. They don't understand that, right? And instead, professionals focus on specialization. They're staying current in chosen domains to provide meaningful business value. So, yes, you're going to bring on, your cloud engineer, AWS cloud engineer, but there's over 200 fully featured services. He's going to need the coaching and time, etc., to specialize in, let's say, FinOps, or let's say in real time gaming, iGaming with sports betting. Right? That's a huge thing that we're going with. So let's take a look at our SCQA, the situations, complications, and questions, and how we can answer it. Situation. AWS has enormous variety. Complication. No one can learn it all. So how can we succeed? How can professionals succeed? Specialization. So, all right, let's take a look at the technical and once again our CEOs, etc., management. From our technical team side, the deep expertise in key AWS domains, security, data, etc., that ensures that you stay compliant and efficient in your designs. And this is where you can bring on specialists as third-party contractors to help your team to keep them focused on the innovation, right? Rather than wasting long periods of time trying to micromanage and burning out and losing high quality individuals. And they're slowly going to get specialized, but you could also do workshops with them and have them, of course, do meetings to grow their as part of their education plans. Business framing, right? Business framing. You're hiring specialized talent, and that's going to drive a faster ROI in your mission critical areas, right? And I was just talking with 56-bit gaming, like 56-bit, right? And they are a company specialized in real-time sports betting with AWS systems. Bringing those into your teams when you're a company that's in iGaming and you don't have everything set up and you don't know the laws and specialties for each individual European country, or in America, each US state is like a country and has their own laws. You bring in these specialized teams to help you move. Overall, the savings is going to be better. So time is money too, right? A critical feature of AWS is its global infrastructure. regions that contain multiple availability zones and supported by millions of servers. So this design, it lets organizations meet needs like high availability, compliance, and low latency by choosing regions close to their users. Okay, so let's take a look at the SCQA situation. Customers demand global reach and reliability. Complications that they could have is um, with on-prem like legacy systems, they can't achieve their scaling demands that they want. And question is, how does AWS deliver, right? And the answer is they have AZs. AZs is short for availability zones. This is a key terminology, jargon from AWS. You got to save it. Your AZs, availability zones. But millions of servers. So let's take a look at the problems or how we address this for two groups, our tech teams and our business, like executives, right? Executive teams. So for our tech teams, our multiple availability deployments, they provide isolation and fault tolerance. In normal terms, right? Human language, AWS is using multiple zones. So if one data center has an issue, your systems can keep running in another. So this is something even different, right? This is besides dealing with compliance. They because they're set up in multiple zones and they have clones set up, you're not going to have these downtimes. So, business framing, you're placing workloads near the users. It's going to, and not only for compliance, like Germany, right? Oh my God, right? But customer experience. Because when you're dealing with your customers, right, their reputation, let's say you need extremely low latencies. I'm sorry, I keep using as a reference in real-time sports betting, in iGaming, right? You need low latencies. Well, if a customer has a bad experience, your reputation's on the line. You're going to lose possibly future business. What bad memory is he going to make? And then he's going to share that as to other individuals. And that's bad marketing against you. So let's go over now to the business benefits, edge and business benefits, right? So AWS also extends reach with Global Edge Network. This is their jargon, right? This is their sales jargon. They call it the Global Edge Network. But they're delivering services and content at points of presence near their customers, right? You want to go to the Asia market, boom. You want to go to South America, all over. And beyond the infrastructure, AWS enables organizations to reduce your costs and to innovate faster. You're going to be able to move to new zones and become more agile when using traditional on premises data centers. So, situation businesses want speed and performance, complications. The distance, it slows down for applications, right? And AWS, with their global network, they call it cloud agility. It's another keyword. They're able to take care of this problem. So let's take a look once again. Technical teams and our executives in the business aspect. For our technical teams, they're pops, right? So pop locations, edge pops. It reduces your latency. It's going to boost your user experience, right? And they don't want to get yelled at by the C-level executives, by you account executives, when there's bad latency problems. So investing in your cloud systems helps reduce that. So their quality of life goes up. Let's take a look at the executives now, right? Lower costs and faster launches, they're going to drive your market speed. You want to go, let's say you're already experiencing success in a certain country or region or state, and you want to be compliant and go over there. Well, how many? I worked in T1 telecommunications, and the companies would get stuck. I swear to God, for 8 months, a year and a half, waiting for customs to clear server racks to get through. And it was so many problems, but if AWS is already there to keep you compliant, that's a headache you don't have to deal with. And a lot of these countries that you wanna go to, they also, want illegal bribes and paying off and stuff, and, most of the companies that I was with, they wouldn't tolerate that, so they'd say, "We're not even gonna do business there." Boom, walk away. But AWS is already set up for you there. Alright, let's do a recap. Above all, agility is the core advantage of the AWS, cloud. And it's giving businesses the speed to adapt and respond quickly to change. So, change is a constant in business and technology. Legacy IT, it's too slow to respond. And that's why we're transitioning to cloud systems. And what's the key advantage with AWS is agility. So, agility supports the DevOps and continuous delivery. And for C level executives, it's gonna reduce your risk and it's gonna accelerate your competitive advantage. So here's the thing, guys. I mentioned it earlier, but I'm gonna bring it back. It's not just about agility. You might hear AWS is too expensive from someone, but most aren't doing proper assessment of TCO, your total cost of ownership, which we're going to cover later on, right? Right now, we're in the value proposition, but this is a huge factor to managing and buying and having your own servers. Your total cost of ownership, it's way more than what you understand. And trust me, I know. I worked with over 81 data centers worldwide in a T1 telecommunications, right? So these are keywords that you're going to need to remember if you're looking to get the certification, right? We have on demand provisioning, we have pay as you go pricing, and high availability. And as you can see here, you on what page is this? On page 43 of 998, in you're in your PDF. You are well architectured framework, AWS PDF. You're going to see some questions in regards to the high availability, etc. So let's go on to some of the questions that I have for you. What does the concept of agility mean in AWS cloud computing? Choose two. A, the speed at which AWS resources are implemented. B, the speed at which AWS creates new regions, right? C, the ability to experiment quickly. D, the elimination of wasted capacity. E, the low cost of entry into cloud computing. So you could pause here. I'm going to let you pause and I'm going to go ahead and show the answer now. Don't show it if you don't want. Here we go. A and C, the speed at which AWS resources are implemented, and C, the ability to experiment quickly. All right, guys. Thank you so much for your valuable time. I appreciate you coming. I'll see you for the next video soon in my course series for AWS.